Hello and welcome to the short Vort on Parshas Ki Sisa. This week's short Vort is about the fact that Hashem is in charge. Hashem knows what He's doing, even if we don't. Part of the proof of this is that when I read and chose the selection from Peninim al Torah on Ki Sisa and Perik Lamed Pasuk Yud Gimel, 2 hours later, I heard the same central story that attracted me to this Dvar Torah from someone else using a different pasuk within the parsha of Ki Sisa. So let's begin. So in Perik pasuk Yud Gimel, it says, "Zaynu kol ha'over al bikudim Machatzi Hashekel shekel hakodesh." So we're told to bring a half a shekel, and one of the lessons of half a shekel that's common is that everyone should realize that no single Jew by himself is alone. We're each only a half, and we need others, or another at least, to fulfill it. But there's another message from Rav Yoshiyahu Pinto Shlita, and he says that Jews should understand that from every circumstance that we're in and every issue that we face, we only know half the story. And the Peninim Torah by Rabbi Scheinbaum of Cleveland, so he uses something from R Chaim Vital based on his Rebbe, the holy Arizal. And the story goes as follows. There was a woman with a widow with 11 children. Her oldest son's name was Yosef. He was the only one who was married. I presume was the first one, but one was married. And Friday nights they used to come and visit their mother to see how she was doing. And one time, it was already 2 years after their father had passed away, and they saw that she just was always crying. And they said, "Mom, you have to go, move on, move past. It's already been 2 years that Dad's been gone." She said, "It's hard. I feel incomplete without him." They schmoozed a little longer, and then they left. That night, she was actually feeling better than she had been in a while, and she had a dream. And a man in a long white beard, as it has to be, came and asked her, "Do you want to see your husband?" And she said, "Of course I want to see my husband." So he took her to a shul, and in the shul there was a young man who was giving the drasha. He was teaching Torah to the crowd. She looked closer, and this man was her husband. So she asked him, said, "Honey, why did you leave me so early at such a young age? And how is it that you're able to give a shir like this? You were in such a Talmud Chacham." So the husband answered, he says, "The world that you live in, it's all a mirage. It's not the real world. I live now in the real world. And there's a lot of Gilgulim, souls that have been transmutated and going from one time to another. And I originally was a great Talmud Chacham who learned so much, but didn't bother getting married and having children because it would take time from Torah. When I went up to heaven, I was told because I didn't do the mitzvah of Puruvu, then I couldn't go into Gan Eden. So I had to come back down and create a family. And once I had it that everyone was on the proper derech, then it was my time to go back to Shemayim and continue my job." So then she asked her husband, "Well, our oldest son, he's been having trouble with business. It's gone sour. Why did that happen?" So the husband says, "Well, you remember that incident he had with this other guy, and they had a lawsuit, and he won. But the other guy was so upset that he was going to do damage to our son. So I prayed, and instead of the damage he would have received otherwise, he had a financial reversal. And don't worry, in another year, things are going to get better, and his fortunes will go back up." Then she asked, "Well, what about our son who's not a David? He's having trouble with shidduchim." The husband answered, "Don't worry about that either, because his future wife is only 13 years old now, and in 5 years she's going to move to our town, and then they're going to meet, and they're going to get engaged and married." Then she said, "Okay, I have another question. Our son, our 3-year-old son, our baby, that was killed by a non-Jewish alcoholic. Why did that tragedy have to happen? And why did it happen so bad?" So he answered, "Well, our son was actually also a Gilgul. He was from a different soul that was a big tzaddik, a Talmud Chacham, who was kidnapped at a young age by a Gentile family, and for 3 years until he was returned to his family, and he went back on the right path and became great. But because he had 3 years of non-kosher food and milk, so he needed to be nursed by a proper woman, and you were that proper righteous woman. But why the tragedy? It says there was a gezerah, there was a decree against our town that would have annihilated it. Since our child was going to die anyhow, they used our baby as in lieu by having this tragic death as a way to avoid tragedy for the whole time. He said, no more questions now. You have to have emunah. You have to have a faith in knowing that Hashem knows what he's supposed to do. So that was one version. The second part of Pasuk that keyed into this was from Rabbi Mordechai Finkelman in his Sunday Morning Vaad, and Perek Lamed Gimel Pasuk Ches, Lo sucha l'rosas panai ki lo yirani hadam b'chai. Moshe had asked, Hareini nas kvodecha, a few pasukim earlier, show me your glory, Levy. I want to know why things are happening. And Hashem says, no man can know the whole story. That's not allowed. And so he used the same story to show that while we have questions on what's happening, there is an explanation. Hashem has a plan. Hashem has a reason. And if you look at the short vorts for 57:72 and 57:73, there's actually two vorts on the related topic. And use a third pasuk, I think it was by the Chassam Sofer, quoting pasuk Chav Gimel, 3 pasukim later than the last one I quoted. So here you have a lesson. Hashem knows what he wants. Hashem is in charge. We're going to have questions. We're going to have challenges. But we have to have emunah and take that faith with us, knowing that Hashem has a plan and knows what will happen. Thank you for listening. Like, share, and subscribe. Have a wonderful week and a wonderful Shabbos.